repair. If you have the car, buy the book. It's the best $15 you'll ever spend on any individual car. Here's a view of just some of the manuals I have, and the list gets bigger and bigger as time goes on. I still have my first Chilton book I bought way back when I was in high school for cars made 64 through 71. Things were a lot simpler back then. Now a book will refer to just one particular model, let alone make. But in these, back then, one book covered them all, at least for American. Get yourself a bolt bin. This one here I got for free back when I was selling cars. They closed down the body shop and used it for a rental car area or what have you. But I got this one for free. If you're going to buy one like this, it's going to cost you some money. But there are alternatives. You can make your own. You can build shelves with the plastic containers like I have on the bottom level. But let me tell you a story. When I was young, my father, he's even cheaper than I, and when we would be repairing something and we needed a bolt, it was search through the cans of coffee cans and nuts and bolts trying to find one that will work. And Jesus, you'd spend more time looking for the bolt than you did the job. Get a bolt bin, have it organized so you can quickly find, let's say you needed to have a 1/4-inch bolt that was 1.5 inches long. Well, there it is, and that's where it goes. It's going to save you a lot of time. Try to avoid the coffee can full of bolts and nuts all mixed together. I know that's going to happen to all of you when you start before you have a bolt bin, but as soon as you feel you can make the transition, buy yourself a bolt bin, build yourself a bolt bin, find a bolt bin for free. It's well worth it. Now what I have here is all inch sizes. I don't have hardly any metric in there because, well, up until now I've been doing mostly older model American items, but more and more now things are metric. Cars have been metric since the 80s, even the ones made in the United States. So you're going to want to make the move to metric. Now, how the heck are you going to do that? You can still buy the standard size inch fractional nuts and bolts by the pound. You can get them cheap. It's not that way, at least where I've seen with the metric fasteners. You have to buy them one at a time, and you're going to be spending big money on them. So when I tear down this Honda engine, I'm going to save every nut and bolt that I think I can use somewhere else. And if you have a buddy that's scrapping out some type of foreign car, go get all the common size metric fasteners. That way you can develop a metric fastener inventory for free. All right, check it out. My shed, it really doesn't look any cleaner at all. Been working at this for, I don't know, an hour or so, and look how many tips I've already given you. And I'm telling you, it's just the beginning. I'll also admit to you, I'm sandbagging here. I've got, my best tips are yet to come. I'm saving them for later. I will make it worth watching. I'll give you something every single day, and some of it's going to be really good. Now, just looking right here, a wire. One of my pet peeves is when someone's hooking something up, they either use all the same color wire or they will hook a yellow wire to a green wire. There's a reason on vehicles the wires are different colors. It's not to make it look pretty, it's so you know what the hell's going on when you're trying to trace a wire. If you're going to wire something yourself, like if you're going to be adding on an accessory, something that's really handy is using this trailer wire. All the strands are connected to each other, so it keeps it from making a mess, and you have several different colors. It comes in really handy for hooking up something where you need 3 or 4 different wires. Also, like I said, if you're going to replace a piece of wire or extend a wire, you don't want to have a yellow wire hooked to a green wire. You want to keep them the same color, but probably to start off with, you don't want to go out and buy a bunch of different spools of different colored wires in different gauges. But what you can do really cheap, if you're scrapping out a car or you have a buddy that's scrapping out a car, you can cut out the wiring harness, remove the outer sheathing of it, and save the wires. You'll have several different colors, several different gauges. It'll really go a long way toward making wiring jobs you do yourself look a little more professional than having all the wires be black or all the wires be red. As long as we're on the subject of electrical items, I'd like to mention relays. I use them all the time. Ford relays in particular, they are almost always cheaper than the OEM equipment. You can usually get a Ford starter relay for about, I got one on this mower too. And I also have one on this mower, if you can see it. I also use them on my snowplows. On my Toyota, I have a Ford relay here. And once again, they're almost always less expensive than the OEM application. And they're almost always easier to come by. Any auto parts store is going to have a relay for a Ford car, but they are not going to probably have a relay for a Western. As long as we're on the subject of relays, I've also used relays to wire up the plow lights on my Toyota here. You may or may not be able to see them, but I got them right here. This truck here takes 4 relays because it's got a separate circuit for the high beam and the low beam and the left and the right side. But that being said, that might sound a little complicated, but the benefit of it is that I only had to run 1 wire through the firewall instead of 6. So you can see the advantages right there of using relays, and it doesn't end there. If you can see right here on my horn, I don't know if you can see that. Oh yeah, there we have. I always thought Toyota pickups had kind of a wimpy sounding horn, so I put in some good quality horns. But the system just didn't have enough juice to run them. So I used the horn circuit to activate this relay right here, and that way I can run louder horns on this truck. The advantages of using relays, it just goes on and on. Now, when you're cleaning your shed, or your garage, or what have you, you're going to run into the question of, what do I save, what do I throw away? And in general, I would say universal materials like plywood, pipe, steel rod, angle iron, things like that, you're going to want to store, you're going to want to keep, because it doesn't take up much room to store. It stacks nice, and more importantly, if you have some project come up where you can quick build something, I say out of some 2x4s, if you got them, you're probably going to do the project. If you have to go to the store to do it, you're either not going to do the project, or you'll use some substandard material and you'll be dissatisfied with what you end up with. So universal building materials, go ahead and store them, you know, for use later. Big things like old snowmobiles that don't work, or washers or dryers, throw that shit away. It just takes up a lot of room. It's not universal enough. If you try to keep things like that around, you're going to end up having your place look like a junkyard. And God knows this place looks like a junkyard enough the way it is right now, right? Getting back to tools, you get cheap ones or good ones. Up until, I married my wife, I was a tool snob. I always wanted to have a power miter box, but a DeWalt compound miter saw was about $500, and I just couldn't justify spending that much on a tool I use that seldom. My wife, once for Christmas, I needed some metric wrenches, and she bought me these cheapo Thorsons, and you know what? They're good enough. They get the job done, and more importantly than that, I have them. You know, if it would have been up to me, I would have been sitting around for another 3, 4, 5 years waiting to find that deal on some decent snap-ons, and it just doesn't make any sense. Get the tools you can afford, because chances are, particularly on hand tools, you're going to need duplicates of everything. So yeah, you can buy the better set later on, but to get you going, get yourself a set of cheap tools and get moving. On this same story here with this power miter box. If it would have been up to me, I'd be waiting for that time when I felt I could afford to, you know, good quality one, or justify getting a DeWalt I still wouldn't have one. This Ryobi miter saw, it's never let me down. I've never been in a situation where, hey, this didn't do the job for me. I suppose if you're a professional finished carpenter, this wouldn't be the choice for you, but for someone like me, where once in a while I'll be building some window boxes, it's more than good enough for the job. And that way you have it, because nothing is way worse than a budget tool. A budget tool is going to do up to 90% of what a high quality tool can do. Nothing does 0% of what a budget tool. Once again here, cord versus cordless tools. If you do 90% of your work or more where you're near an outlet, an electrical outlet, the corded tool is by far and away the way to go. You never have to worry about the batteries dying on you. You never have to worry about going to do the job and you realize the batteries are dead, and then it's an 8-hour wait for them to charge. If you are in a situation where you're working away from outlets, so particularly like with the Sawzall, if you're the kind of guy that goes junkyard scavenging and you need to cut off parts out in the junkyard where there's obviously no outlets, cordless is the way to go. But for most people that do 90% of their work in the shop, the corded tool is absolutely. Stuff like WD-40 and starting fluid. Buy this stuff 3-4 cans at a time. Once again, you'll leave this laying around. You'll go work on your truck, you spray some on, and then you go to another job, and then all of a sudden you need some penetrating oil, and you can't find it. Get yourself 3 or 4 cans. In the long run, you're spending the exact same amount. If you go through 4 cans in a year, you might as well have 4 cans right at the start. You're not saving any money by buying fewer cans. Starting fluid, WD-40, spray silicone, any of those things that you use quite often, but you tend to leave them on the job because you know you're going to need them later. Yeah, get yourself several cans. It'll also solve the problem where you reach for the can and that can's dead. Well, in this case, you go get the other can. WD-40, what is it, $1.99 a can? Buy a few. Short. Once again, with building materials, save them.